ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ask the Theologian on this Thursday. We're glad you're here on a Thursday, and it happens to be Thursday, February the 6th, I believe, and I'm very glad that you are here. Thursday's a good, Thursday's a good day. We do Proverbs on Thursday. Started this brand new series last week, so you've only missed session 1. If you missed that, you could catch up by tonight, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That is 9 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast. Alex in London, what is it, 2 a.m. or something like that for you over there? And welcome, everybody. Good to see you. From snowy Vermont, sunny New Mexico to snowy Vermont. We wish you well today. Got Virginia and Alabama. Alabama, I missed one of your questions. I'm going to come back to that, I realized just yesterday. My bad about that. But Missouri, Texas, good to see everyone here today. And I do look forward to seeing you tonight also. Again, that'll be fun and will be nice. Let's see. Let's jump right into questions. If you have a question, you can put the word question in front if you're watching live, or you can go to askthetheologian.com. By the way, as you know, my trusty assistant, Luca, has been helping me get some blogs up from these questions, takes that material, works it into a blog, and just put another one up last night or this morning on the bivocational preacher issue that we had yesterday or the day before. So check out dispensationalpublishing.com, click the blogs button there. You will see those. We're trying to do one on a very regular basis. McTreasure, good to see you here with us today, and glad you're with us. Because we're having a little internet problem. That's the reason we were just a few minutes late there. My apologies. And our Wi-Fi is not working. Only our hardwired. Well, my laptop is not hardwired right now. So I am not using Biblify today. It's going to look just a little bit different, but we will go to the one downloaded on my computer. And the question from McTreasure has to do with Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. Let's go ahead and read it. I happen to have my color coding on to put masculine and feminine. Probably won't make any difference here, but the Lord said, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him." A little translator note right there. A help as before him. A helpmeet for him as before him. So, the question in Genesis 2:18 about the creation of special beings after Adam. First question, is being a helpmeet in an emotional sense, physical compatibility, or both? Let's first of all dig into that Hebrew for just a moment. Help is a pretty standard word. So it is that meet word, help meet, that we want to look at, and eventually I'll have it here for you. Okay. Neged is the word. However, I want to double check this here. No, okay, I was wrong. I started to say that's the only time it's used, but it's not. So let me show you here the other times that it is used. I realize rather small print here. Maybe I can improve that just a bit. There we go. Genesis 2:18. First time that I will make an helpmeet for him. Genesis 2:20, for Adam there was not found an helpmeet. Same context, obviously. Only other time is Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. His windows being open in his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem. Now, that is interesting because we wouldn't think of that in that particular manner. Now, we probably would want to look up in, say, the Oxford English Dictionary, the word meet, M-E-E-T, help meet, because, as you see here, the King James has given us a translator note, a help as before him, a help in front of him, a help toward him. What they're saying with those translator notes, every one of those translator notes is saying, hey, there's some possibility here. This is a good place to dig into. But I think what we're going to find is the particular grammar doesn't answer the question. It doesn't tell us, hey, is this a help for emotional sense? Is this a help for physical compatibility? Is this a help, what is it? I think, however, if we were to look into this particular scripture, I'm going to back up just a little bit. We don't need to back up too much. So the Lord God took man, put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it, to keep it. The Lord commanded man, eat, don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Thou shalt not eat of it. The Lord said, it is not good that man should be alone. I assume alone probably just means alone. I will make a help toward him, a help meet for him. And so in verse 19, all the animals come. He calls every living creature to give a name thereof. Adam gave names to the cattle, to the fowl of the air, to the beasts of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. The Lord caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam. I think ultimately we probably have to focus on the word help. He's doing it alone. He has no help. So I'm going to go both on the answer, but probably even more deeply than that. So McTreasure asked the question, does a helpmeet mean a helpmeet in an emotional sense, a helpmeet in a physical compatibility, a helpmeet in what? Well, there is no doubt, I think, that Adam, in naming the animals, first of all, does recognize in naming the animals, you got a bull and a cow. You got a goose and a gander. You got a chicken and a hen. You got a buck and a doe. And that is not always, but for the most part, it's pretty obvious in the natural world. By the way, I bought some fish the other day because we have this aquarium and it's had like 3 fish in it for a long time. I was like, we should put some more fish in there. They need a helpmeet. They're bored. Don't want bored fish. And so I bought a couple of these little fish, and she says, the lady just looked at it. I think they got a male and a female. No, wait. I think that's 2 males. And she was trying to tell me how to tell an angelfish, whether it's a boy angel or a girl angel, on these little angelfish. And let's just say it's not obvious. She's a pro, and she wasn't really sure. I'm pretty sure I got 2 fish here. But for most of the animal world, it's fairly obvious. Not always, not completely, but fairly obvious. You even take a duck, and I can tell you which one's the boy duck and which one's the girl duck. Can you do that? You took my list. You moved it. Can you do that, Wally? He doesn't know this one. I'm the beeve. You're Wally. Anyway, what I was saying in that is, I think that physical, let's go ahead and call it that sexual compatibility, kids who grow up on a farm know how this thing works. He was out there with the animals. He says, okay, there's no help meet. So I think in the physical compatibility, most definitely. All of the other things, I suspect that you even notice just taking care of the animals. This is not true throughout all the animal kingdom, but it's largely true in a lot of ways. To say, hey, there really is more than just the sexual compatibility to it. And that Adam was given Eve for the rest of the story, for the balancing act, if you will, and brings that together. Now, I don't want to say, and I think we should be careful not to say that Adam was incomplete. Oh, here, I'm not a full person because there's not the other half of me. We often even will say that, the other half. The truth is we come into marriage as two wholes, and the best of marriage is two wholes that come together to make one new entity. So we need to be careful to say, okay, here is what he was missing out emotionally, what he was missing out physically, what he was missing out spiritually, wherever you want to go with it. The truth is, he is made complete and very good in and of himself. But, hey, it's not good for man to live alone. That in and of itself is more of an emotional sense that comes, that aloneness that comes. So I think I'm going to go with helpmeet. I think I'm going to go all of the above. I don't think grammar is going to answer the question for us. I wish that, I say grammar, I probably should say vocabulary. I wish that vocabulary would answer the question and say, okay, it's all about sexual compatibility or whatever it is. But honestly, I don't think the answer is there. And so we're kind of stuck on that one just a little bit. Sorry about that. Let's go to Stephen in Gainesville. A couple of questions that I overlooked here, Stephen and Felicia. Sorry about that. But Stephen says, this is a fill-in-the-blank question. I like those kind. Well, part B is fill in the blank. Okay, here are two statements. Your job is to fill in the blank. I like it. Here we go. Fill in the blank on part B. Part A, statement number 1. 100% of the Bible is written for us. And he's got for, all caps, and quotations. Part B, statement number 2, blank percent of the Bible is written to us. Okay, so it's a little bit of a multiple choice, and I get some fill-in. 100% of the Bible is written for us, so what percent of the Bible is written to us? First of all, I will agree on the 100% of the Bible. There's nothing in there that is not for me. There's a lot of the stuff that's not to me. And that is to say, there's nothing in here that I'm not supposed to read. There's nothing in here that won't benefit me. There's nothing in here that won't help me have a better and more biblical worldview. There's nothing in here that I can say that is for somebody else, and therefore I don't need it. Here's the skippable part. So I agree with A, that 100% of the Bible is written for us. Now, what percent of the Bible is written to us? By this, I think we are talking about those things that really we need those to build a doctrine out of. Now, of course, as right dividers, we immediately want to go to the Pauline stuff. As you know, I am one that divides Paul and say even some of Paul is not to me. It was to the Romans, for example, who I think are Jews. There's some things in there that I can take and say, here's a they, here's the world, here's some of these things that I can take in Romans. And so I would take a very small percentage of Romans. I don't know if we could go into what's one I've got on since I'm using Logos today because of our computer issues. Yeah, so I'm going to make these letters small because you don't need to read it right now. But here is my color-coded 1 Timothy. So in this question, for example, I'm saying that the blue is to us. So as you go through 1 Timothy, well, there's quite a bit of blue, but there's quite a bit of not blue too, going through there. And again, so that was all of 1 Timothy. Now, what percentage of that we could do the math and come up with it. But I think, just glancing at it here, I'm gonna guess 50% of 1 Timothy, perhaps. That's obviously a very quick guess. So many right dividers would say 1 Timothy is to us. I'm more persnickety than that, and I say part of 1 Timothy is to Timothy. And some of these things, I don't know, maybe at the beginning of the book, unto Timothy, my own son in the faith. It's not me. I besought thee while thou still abode, as I besought thee to abide still, I'll get it, at Ephesus, when I went to Macedonia. I've been to Ephesus, and I've been to Macedonia, but that's not me. So I put that stuff and say, okay, it helps me understand the stuff that is for me in 1 Timothy, but that's not mine. So I divide that out, not to me. So you take a letter that many would say, oh yeah, that's ours, and here I'm cutting half of that out. And if you take the Pauline epistles, what portion of the Pauline epistles is the Bible? We could go by numbers of books, but that's not going to help us. Isaiah is probably longer than the Pauline epistles altogether. So you've got the Pauline epistles are perhaps, let's go with 15%. I don't have the ability to do the calculations right here, but let's go with 15%, and then let's cut that in half. So say that's 7.5%. Now, I would say, wait. There is more. Because let's take like Genesis chapters 1 and 2. Is that to me? I'll go ahead and say yeah, because it's to humanity. Hey, here's where you come from. It's not specific to Israel. It's not specific to, the northern kingdom. So we're going to find a lot of that. Maybe you could even say Genesis 1 through 11. Is such foundational material. God is not dealing with Israel. He's dealing with humanity. It is foundational that we need for our worldview. Yeah, okay, take it. You take some of the passages like, I don't know, maybe the last chapter of the book of Revelation, perhaps. And then you get into the Gospels. The Gospels, of course, Jesus was a minister of the circumcision, confirming the promises to the fathers. But it's also explaining to us the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, some of the things that are so foundational. Would you take the Gospels out of it? You would have to have them in order to understand the gospel of grace. So comes down to it, I'm going to say it's probably not as easy of an answer. It's not as clear mathematically, but I'm going to guess, okay, if 100% of the Bible is written for us, I'll go as high as 20% of the Bible is written to us. And that is, that's maybe on the high. It depends on how you define some of these things, but a little bit on the high side probably. Now, he said, don't look at my answer until you answer. And I see his answer now. Roughly 10%. Stephen in Florida says 10%. I went up as high as 20, but I could whittle down from there. I think I might have even said, it might be a little high. Is 10% a little low? If you take it as, you know, the blue text in here, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get down to 10%. If you bring some of these other peripheral things like the Gospels, some of these things, it would be interesting to try to check that out. Thank you. Oh, I got it backwards. You're the beeve. I'm Wally. Sorry about that. I know Wally and the Beaver, but that is a little bit before my time. And so I was just thinking it sounds cool to be called the Beeve. But you're the Beeve. So you get the cool spot today. I am Wally, the wiser older brother. There you go, context. It's all about context, isn't it? Chuck says, rarely do I get the context right. Yeah, I got that context wrong. You're right. Let's see, if we were Gilligan and the Skipper, I guess you'd have to be Gilligan. You look more like Gilligan, and I look more like the Skipper, so that would work. We'll save that one for another day. Felicia in Alabama says, Jesus prayed to the Father that his disciples, a little flock, be given assurance so that they may be one, quote, may be one as we, the Father and the Son, as we are one, that they may be one as we are one. I think this is John chapter 17, if I'm not mistaken here. And we had a little look at it yesterday, and find that verse here. Yeah, it's there somewhere in John 17. So, you're right. It says right there, if I just read John 17:11. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, if you came on late, we're a little limping today because of an internet issue here that I can't just pass it over to the beeve over there and say, hey, do that for me. Okay, so Jesus prays, that they, the disciples, may be one as we, the Father and the Son, are one. I mentioned yesterday, hey, you got a decent Trinitarian argument here. Now, John 17:11 and 21. Yes, here on 21, that they may all be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee. They may also be one in us. The world may believe that thou hast sent me. Their purpose in their unity was to believe that Jesus was sent from the Father. Now, Felicia says, is Jesus saying the same oneness that he and the Father share is an achievable connection between mere mortals and deity? There's an if so on this question. I'm going to stop right there. So here we are again, that they may be one. And then it says, as. This is an adverb. So the same manner in which they are one, as thou art in me and I in thee, that they may be one in us. Now, let me read that question again. Is the oneness of the Father and the Son an achievable connection between mere mortals and deity, that we can be one just as the Father and the Son? Now, I want to be careful here because it says, well, let me go back. If we're not careful, I think we could assume a positive answer to your question. Is it achievable for me to be one with the Father so that you could say the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Randy are 4 in 1? I think obviously we would be a little uncomfortable with that. We would be uncomfortable with me saying, hey, I want you all to know, I and the Father are one. If you have seen one, you have seen the other. Obviously, we would be a little uncomfortable saying that, wouldn't we? But I think the text here helps us out, just in English. So let's call they the 12, the apostles, may be one. As their oneness is as thou art in me and I in thee. Now let's just take that thing right there. Thou art in me and I in thee. This separates it out, trying to figure out how to word this. This separates it out from the oneness of the Trinity. Here, while Jesus is walking the earth, Father, you're in me. I am in you. Let me borrow back from Song of Solomon, is it? I am my beloved and my beloved is mine. I'm my beloved's and my beloved is mine. I think this little statement here, I can't highlight very well today, but that little statement kind of in the light blue, thou Father art in me, I in thee. They may also be one in us. If we were to dig into that deep enough, I think we would analyze that and say that is a different kind of oneness than the oneness of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 1 and 3. I think we've got a difference grammatically. I'm not sure I know how to exactly put that into words yet. I'll work on it. But that seems to separate this out. This is not a typically Trinitarian formula. What is the Trinity? Oh, the Father is in the Son and the Son is in the Spirit. It's not normally what we say. So, is it achievable for me to be in God and God to be in me in this kind of sense? That the Father was in the Son and the Son is in the Father? That, I think you have to say that is achievable. I just think we would separate it from the Trinity. And I need to nail that down to give a more robust argument, because I know that, well, I just don't think so. Even coming from me is not a good argument. Let me go on to the question. So, is this an achievable connection between mere mortals and deity? If so, Felicia says, doesn't Christendom misapply the concept of oneness, as Jesus used the concept, when they use it to help support a certain understanding of the Trinity? Now, I would not be surprised at all if there is not some bad Trinitarian argumentation that comes from this verse. Now, earlier, what is the other verse that's in here? I and the Father are one. And maybe that's in another passage. But nonetheless, that is very different then the Father's in me and I am in him. So could it be that taking verse 21 as a Trinitarian argument might prove too much? You might get into the point of saying, look, now mere mortals and deity can be one. And go way too far on that. Really need to dig into that and carry it. Here's one of the reasons this is so hard, because Trinitarianism is so hard. And when you put together the concepts of the Trinity and then try to discuss them, and you know that I am a bit allergic to being too insistent that we get our Trinitarian terminology right, because we are always insistent that we can't quite grasp the Trinity. So why should we be able to have a formula that works out just perfectly? Thank you. Let's go to Arthur down in Mississippi. In Acts 9:15, Acts 9:15. The Lord said to him, "Go thy way, for he's a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel." Three groups. He's a chosen vessel to bear my name before Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel. Arthur said, I thought Paul was just called to go to the Gentiles. So normally we do take that and say, oh yeah, Paul, he's the chosen vessel too. If we did, like Stephen down in Florida, if we did a fill in the blank, class, I have a question for you today. Paul is a chosen vessel too? I think unanimously the answer would be to the Gentiles. But Acts 9:15 definitely clearly says to the Gentiles, to the kings, and the children of Israel. Which, by the way, is a bit of support for my position here on my favorite poster on this this transition period, this period in which there are two things going on, and here is to the nation of Israel, here is to the Gentiles. There's a time he's speaking to both. Now, there comes a time out here after Israel is destroyed that there's no Israel to speak to. There's now the only thing God is offering is to neither Jew nor Gentile. And so out here, this is us. But Paul, he lived here. So he's going both ways on it. And at the beginning of that time, like you'd see, say, in 1 Corinthians or 1 Thessalonians, at the beginning of that time, there's not very many people here, and he's recruiting them out of here. And yet also he's the chosen vessel to the children of Israel. It gives support even for my position on the book of Romans. My position, of course, is that they are Roman Jews. And I know some in right dividing communities, and they've always got decent arguments. They're good thinkers and right dividers. Some say, wait, Paul's the ambassador, or he's given the gospel of the circumcision, Galatians chapter 2, verse 7. And therefore, he can't be speaking this stuff that is to Israel. But Acts 9:15 very clearly says, Gentiles, kings, the children of Israel. What does he tell the children of Israel? I would say put that to the test. Do a study of the book of Acts and see when Paul is with Israel, what does he tell them? I think that Acts 18 is a very good example. I think it's 18. Yeah. Acts chapter 18, after these things, Paul departed from Athens, came to Corinth, found Priscilla, Aquila, jumped down to verse 4. In Corinth, he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. So he's speaking to both of them. And so then here they were. Paul was pressed in the Spirit and testified to the Jews that Jesus was Christ. Now, remember, Christ is Messiah. So he testified to the Jews because he's a chosen vessel to the children of Israel. What's he testify? Jesus is Messiah. I call that the gospel of Christ, by the way. And if you go to dispensationalpublishing.com, there is a little booklet called The Gospel of Christ. You can order it. It's free. It's a download. So as soon as you order, look for the download link. Scroll down and look for the download link. I've had a few people say, I didn't get mine. And I say, oh, scroll down, look for the download link. You got it. It's there. But I'll be happy to send it to you. And although I don't have any hard copies, we've never made any hard copies, so I can't send you a hard copy, but I can send you a PDF copy in the Gospel of Christ. So the Gospel of Christ is Paul's message to the children of Israel. Hey, Jesus is the Christ. Now, do we have any other passages that show Paul as a chosen vessel? You know, you take Galatians 2:7, of course, the gospel of the circumcision versus the gospel of the uncircumcision. But are there any that say, okay, I'm a chosen vessel, Paul's a chosen vessel here to someone else? Yeah, Romans chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. Let's pull that up here again where you can see it. So remember, Acts 9:15, a chosen vessel to the children of Israel. Romans 1:1, separated unto the gospel of God. You say, oh, okay, I know that's the gospel of grace because he's a chosen message to the Gentiles. Wait, keep going. And to kings and to the children of Israel. So here he's chosen or separated unto the gospel of God. That's not the gospel of grace. I know that because of the next verse, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, which is completely different than a new gospel which was never testified before. It was a mystery. So here he claims, I am separated for the gospel of the Old Testament. I know some of us don't want to hear that. He is not separated to the gospel of the Old Testament. That's what it says right there. Separated unto the gospel of God. Which gospel? The one promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. So I think we paint with too broad of a brush when we just say Paul's the apostle to the Gentiles. Paul was chosen for the Gentiles. He's the chosen vessel to the Gentiles. That's true, but there's more to the story. That gives the idea that Paul only does this. Every time he takes his pen, he is writing about this individual gospel here. And that, I think, is a mistake. And Acts 9:15 is a great place to question our thinking on this. As Arthur says, I was thinking Paul was just sent to the Gentiles. I can see why you were thinking that, because we repeat it 10,000 times. But Acts 9:15, that's a good find, a good reminder for us. It's tucked away, the evidence we needed all along. Thank you, Arthur. I appreciate that. Checking out your comments. Lots of stuff in there. I gotta dig through. Okay. Let's go to Tim in Southern California, followed by Lorna in Pennsylvania. Tim says in Galatians 2:16, I'll get to it. In Galatians 2:16, know that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ. Even we have believed in Jesus Christ. You ask, what is the significance of faith of Christ in the King James versus faith in Christ in most modern translations? Let's just go ahead and put up some modern translations here. Compare these. I think this is actually very important. So again, a little small on your screen, but what we're interested in right here is this little phrase right here, the faith of Jesus Christ. NASB, faith in Jesus. ESV, faith in Jesus. NIV, faith in. The net, faithfulness of Jesus Christ. NLT, faith in. And CSB, faith in. Now, you know that one of my favorite hobbies is to mock the net Bible. I think it's the biggest academic joke in theological academia, the net Bible. But they came closer here. They did realize in this of right here that in has to be forced. Really, you got to stretch the use of grammar to make that one go. The others didn't mind because they interpret based upon what they thought rather than what it says. It clearly does say of. It's a genitive. Genitives are notoriously hard to translate, but here it's not going to be in. That makes it an accusative rather than a genitive. So the NASB, the ESV, you know, the most accurate translations in the English language, they decided, out with the genitive, in with the accusative. We're scholars, don't you know? Oh, we know what the Bible actually says. They weren't even going on a textual difference. They were just going like, I didn't want my Sunday school teacher taught me. Dear translators, translate, period. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. Translate, period. That's all you do. Translate, period. That's why you need to go with the King James. Because they translate, period. All these others, NASB, ESV, NIV, NET, NLT, Christian Study Bible, all the others, they all say We're doing this for people who are dumb as a box of rocks. Where's my box of rocks? I got it here somewhere. They're dumb as a box of rocks, and there is no way that they can do anything. I mean, they'll go to hell if we don't get this right for them. It's academic arrogance. And invariably, they get it wrong. By the way, I'll get to the question here, but why not, especially those of you who are in denominations and give your money, defund those seminaries? Just like Trump, defunded. Just wrote something else on my list there. Like Trump defunded USAID because it wasn't doing anything except a propaganda organization paying for Politico, which is bound to go out of business now because nobody reads Politico. Defund these seminaries. Literally, the world would be better if they closed down. Those students would have to go read their Bible. It would be much better off. Defund them. If you got a little school out there or something that's teaching right division, actually producing pastors, they give degrees for people who are going to be a pastor. That's what they do. That's where their money comes from. That's their bread and butter. I can tell you, these big box seminaries out there, they scarcely put out a pastor. Put out a bunch of teachers and missiologists and counselors. Now, back off my high horse, onto the question. What is the significance? Well, the significance is that, let me get back here and bring the panel up again. Sorry, we're limping a little on our software here today. So, a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ. That little phrase right there that I would love to highlight, but I can't figure out how to do it. That little phrase right there, by the faith of Jesus Christ, is almost equivalent to saying we are saved, what? By, I heard you, grace. Through faith. Now, in Ephesians 2:8-9, that faith is ours. But the grace is His. The grace is the faith of Jesus Christ. In faith, He endured the cross. In faith, He was obedient unto death. In faith, He went forward to take that cup for the joy that was set before Him. So it is this faith of Jesus Christ. Now, when you see this genitive like this, you can really kind of swap it around in English, as we would do sometimes, and we would say, Jesus Christ's faith. So we are justified not by the works of the law, but by Jesus Christ's faith. Now you say, okay, what is that? Well, Jesus Christ's faith led Him to His death, burial, and resurrection, to His obedience at the cross. Therefore, it's another way of saying we're not justified by the works of the law, we're justified by the work of Christ. He's the one that has done the work. This is very different than saying we're justified by our faith in Jesus Christ. This is how that justification is applied to us. This is how the justification is given to us by grace through faith, our faith. But it's very definitely here, the Greek, I think the Greek is undeniable. The Greek is very definitely the faith of Jesus Christ, which means just one more time, the modern translations got it wrong. But it's easy to read and it makes me feel so good. Who cares? You know, I wonder, I have never read, I don't know what kids read today. I know, a few years ago, they were reading these big old huge Harry Potter books. I've never read one. I don't know if they're easy to read or not, but I can tell you they're big. They're a big chunk of book. I've seen them. I don't see anybody. We need a shorter version, said nobody. So it's just a dismissal of the Bible when they're like, we need a 6th grade Bible. No, you don't. You need to grow up. And quit throwing the Bible under the bus. That's what you need. And the sad part is, it's not the people crying for this. It's pastors telling the people they're so stupid. You can't read this. It's got all the these and the thous. Okay, you're never going to get this. I mean, I went to seminary and I can barely do it. We got to get you, where's a kindergarten Bible, huh? Anybody got some pictures? Does it seem like I had too much caffeine? I didn't. That's the thing. I have not had caffeine today. Maybe that's the problem. One of our good listener friends in Mesquite, Texas, sent me this nice tea thing. I haven't even written a thank you note. And it makes this cool tea. This looks like Kool-Aid, but it's, I don't know, raspberry something or another. It's caffeine free. It's pretty good. Lorna in Pennsylvania. Good to see you, Lorna. Dr. Mike, hope you're doing well. This actually may not be a question. It may have been a comment that was given, and I had it in the question box. They, Adam and Eve, were created in the image of God. They were immortal, and sin caused their mortality. There is a question mark there, so I'll take it. Sin cannot exist in the presence of a holy God. It's kind of a comment question, all given in there. But yeah, very good point that sin in the presence of the holy God doesn't work out, and so there is this separation. They were in the image of God. This was probably when we were talking about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, maybe yesterday, the day before. So then they're cast away from his presence and given there. Thank you very much. Question without a name through AskTheTheologian.com. Hello, Mr. Randy. Hello, Mr. You. Why did God clothe Adam and Eve with animal skin? Thanks. You know, just last night we were talking in our Mark Bible study about the value of clothing in the first century. And the reason it was so valuable is because it takes a lot to go from flax to yarn to weaving it together to making cloth to sewing that together in clothes. I am surprised. I don't know. Maybe in every picture I ever saw, everybody in the first century was wearing cloth clothing. But I wonder down through the ages if animal skins were not more of a prevalent clothing than was cloth. Because again, you just think about it. With no machine to weave all those things together to make a cloth, I mean, you're basically wearing a tapestry everywhere you go. And that's a lot of work. Of course, we have machines that can do it now faster than you can even see and put it together. I always thought, by the way, that a sewing machine was one of the most intriguing things there ever has been, because that needle goes in there and somehow that thread goes over there and then it comes out over here, and it's just spectacularly amazing. And it all happens so fast, and even like when you turn that thing to say, okay, what's happening over here? It's just fascinating how they did that. So we got things now, that's just one thread. Of course, you can make whole things of material, lickety split. But down through the ages, I'd be surprised if people didn't wear more animal skins, because I was trying to think the other, clothes don't grow on trees. what else comes ready to wear? Some leaves, they took fig leaves, Adam and Eve themselves, but, it's not very durable. Can you think of anything besides animal skins and a few leaves that might work for clothing? They didn't have trash bags. I don't know what. Seems like anything else you got, you're going to have to do a lot of work on it. So just in a very practical reason, could it be the reason that God gave them animal skins? It's because he was in a hurry? Yeah, Luca, excuse me. The Beeve over here says that's the kind of clothes they would be able to make. Makes sense, because it's going to take some time, study, and technology to figure out, hey, from this piece of cotton or piece of flax or whatever, I can ultimately end up with, a nice suit and tie, plaid with green. So was it a bit of grace? Now, what's always read into it, and maybe this is legit, but maybe it's going too far, is that he did this to show that something was going to have to die now to cover up their shame. I understand why, how you would come to that conclusion. But I wonder if maybe we're overthinking it, if maybe we're putting something that's not so much there. This is just more of a very practical act that was taken. I think there's possibility. And of course, that one of my rules is that don't make the Bible say more than it says. So should we imply it's because of, it's the first animal sacrifice? I would be more comfortable with saying, hey, some say this is the first animal sacrifice and that there's something atoning in it. Not only covering them, but also covering in a sense for their sin, and there's some foreshadow there. Again, I get it why you would come to that conclusion. I probably would just be kind of careful doing that. So why did he make it out of animal skin? It could have been to show him death. Assuming that nothing had died to that point, which I think is a safe assumption. Hey, here's what's coming. Here's what you need to see. Here's what you need to know. And in a sense, you're going to be clothed in death. Now, that's more than it says there, again, but it's probably closer to what emotionally what they would have made the connection is that, they got along with these animals, they walked with these animals, they named with these animals, and now that animal is dead, and I'm wearing him around my waist. I got death covering up my shame. Again, it's just as speculative. So all we know is that he gave them animal skins. I guess every now and then we still wear some animal skin clothes, more shoes, I guess a buckskin shirt, maybe a little rifleman action going on there, with a buckskin shirt. But we don't do it so much anymore. Used to wear fur coats, but it got to be politically incorrect to do that. I wonder if the people who don't wear fur coats did wear, back in the days of protesting, that if they did wear like leather shoes or anything. Because as far as I know, you can't harvest leather and let them grow it back. Doesn't work that way. The animal's got to be dead. Thank you. I got a bunch of stuff here. Rhonda, Brock, McTreasure, a follow-up question. Jay Warren. Oh, I think we're about to catch up. A few others I got to go back and make sure I didn't miss there. Deb, I see a Deb one there. Did I miss one from Birdie? I'm going to check that. Make sure I got that. Thanks for being here today. We are out of time. I do look forward to seeing you tonight. Let's see if I can find the picture here. I've got there we go. This is what we're studying right here tonight. Proverbs, Wisdom Unveiled. And we are going to be in chapter 1. We're going to get into the verse by verse. We're going to have a good time with all that, and I will look forward to seeing that with you tonight. That's, again, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You got a question? I'll be back tomorrow for Ask the Theologian, 10 a.m. Right here, and you can send your questions in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at AskTheTheologian.com. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you. You take care. God bless.